Hey there guys, what's up? I'm just casually driving my high-powered mobility scooter all the way into downtown San Francisco. Let me grab a quick coffee here and I'll be with you. Welcome back to the Bay Area. I am lucky to be alive after that ride in, and my coffee is gone. I spilt it everywhere. In today's episode, we are going to continue building Oakland, basically the core of it. There's going to be suburbs and train stations and all sorts of things. I'm also going to build some really cool abandoned tram tracks that run through parts of Oakland and form some really interesting areas. But let's start by nailing the grid pattern here. In the bottom of the picture you can see the motorway which is running adjacent to the grid in downtown. The grid that we're working with here is coming adjacent of the suburb area at the top of your screen, so these two are going to meet towards the bottom of the screen here. Now one notable thing with this grid pattern is there's a Broadway style road here, a one-way going one way and a one-way going the other, with about at a guess I'd say 40-foot green space between the two of them. In real life, I'm pretty sure this is called Memorial Park, and I'm going to build this in game. It's very simple. In the green space in the middle we're going to put a swervy little pedestrian path, and then we're going to put some trees around it. That's pretty much it. Then we are going to extend that right up the boulevard quite a way. It took me ages to figure out which tracks to use for these abandoned tram lines everywhere. I cycled through heaps of the different options, different road options, different networks. Ideally I wanted it to be a road because I wanted it to look realistic where it branched off and went into abandoned factories that are no longer in use. I found a decorative tram line for instance without the road, but it just looks like it's running into the curb. And the tram road by itself was just too bulky, so what I did in the end was combine the two. I've used a little wee narrow road and that decorative tram network on that narrow road. And the good thing about doing it this way too is that these abandoned lines aren't all on the same road, so this gives me the option to run it through different types of road, through old intersections, through car parks and in weird spots. So while I'm getting all of that set up, let's have a look on Google Earth at what it is I'm doing here exactly. It was actually you guys in the comments that alerted me to these abandoned lines in the first place, because there's no way I would have seen these otherwise. But once I found these on Google Earth, I just spent hours following where they went and seeing all the interesting areas that were accommodating this line coming through that have been completely abandoned now. There's spots where you can clearly see it's cut through half a block, in a nice curve or whatever, and it's been repurposed now. I'm so glad you guys pointed this out because this is really cool. I'm excited to build this sort of thing, and we're going to detail some of these areas pretty hardcore in the game. Alright, before we go any further with the detailing in regards to those abandoned lines, let's go back to the nearby metro station here. We've got a line coming directly from the Salesforce Transit Hub over here, and it is being used really hardcore, so I want to detail this up properly before we carry on. And following what we see in real life, this is going to be pretty simple really. It's a lot of bloody car parks, that's it. The one thing we are going to do differently here is mine is slightly raised, so I have a retaining wall around the outside of mine with a road angled up going up into those car parks, and all of those car parks are usable in game. I also want to add a green space over the back where maybe you could go and hang out if you're waiting for a train. And I also want to add in some prop doors into that retaining wall so it looks like there's access through the building and up into the station. As much as I hate them, I have to put more car parks in here to transition this out realistically into the nearby neighbourhood. So there's a couple of small car parks here, and then it goes into a pocket of small commercial on the corner here, and then it starts to go into that residential. And I gotta say, I really love those residential buildings around this area because they've got a backyard, there's a bit of greenery, there's lots of trees and stuff around this part of Oakland, and I really love that. There's also quite a few wall-to-wall apartments around here, up to 3 to 4 stories in places, so I want to chuck those in as well. Let's get a move on and really fill this whole block out. This turns out really nice when it's done. This is one of my favourite neighbourhoods we've built in San Francisco so far. I've left a couple of these open areas in our neighbourhood where we can zoom in and do something cool with these abandoned lines. This one here is just curving off the road and just stopping or terminating at a random point, and I've got a concrete pedestrian path underneath it. Or actually it's a plain road, so you can see that it connects into our roadway. I want to try and make it look like it just runs into an old factory here. The factory's still in use, but the line maybe isn't. The half abandoned yard around here might be in use for parking with like trucks and stuff like that, and then try and make it look grungy and damaged as well. Some of the abandoned lines we see running through the area have buildings that are very uniquely shaped around the tracks, and I think these areas are cool because they're really easy to spot on Google Earth. And I reckon it's just really fascinating to zoom in and imagine what they used to do with the line and have a look at what they've got there now. This one here particular from San Francisco is one that I've sort of got in mind while I'm doing this one in game. I have to use procedural objects within city skylines to make these uniquely shaped factories and buildings around the tracks, because basically I just don't have the patience to go through the workshop and look for the correct size building. It's much easier for me to do it like this. But I really like how this one comes out. I think this nails the vibe exactly. I want to talk about what's been happening in the background of the series a little bit, and it's a little bit difficult to know where to start, but let me start by saying that the San Francisco save is becoming very problematic for me, and not necessarily the mods or anything like that, although I do struggle in that regard. It's just more the fact that I've got limited building time these days, and San Francisco, it takes like 40 minutes to load in. It's ridiculous, and sometimes I've got to do that 3 or 4 times to, sort of mod out or whatever. If I've only got a couple of hours up my sleeve to build, then it's all gone just watching the game load in and out. And I know some of you guys are loving it, but I've got to be honest here, I'm absolutely getting so sick of not being able to build. If you watch my Europe in Detail series, I load into that save in about 3 minutes, so I'm straight into building, I'm inspired, and yeah, unfortunately it's difficult to take that sort of motivation into San Francisco. I can't really say what that means for the series going forward. I'm a bit conflicted. I will say this, however, I am very excited to start a new project, and I've been thinking about one thing in particular for a long time, and I do not want to give up on San Francisco just yet, but I hope you guys understand that it's really draining to wait around this long, and I've only got myself to blame. I'm the one that got all the mods and made the save as big as I did. I guess at the end of the day it's all just a big learning curve. But the bottom line for me, guys, is I want to make things at the best of my ability, and for me to do that it means I need to stay as highly motivated as possible and do projects that I'm genuinely excited about building. Alright guys, I'm going to leave that at that, but I am really keen to hear what you guys think in the comments. I know this was only a little wee short episode. I ran into quite a few issues while I was trying to finish that build. In particular, every piece of road I put down had like 1,000 nodes to it when I'd finished. Like, that's just one of the things that goes on. But guys, I promise I will make it up in future. Hope you guys are doing well. Look after yourselves, look after each other, and I will talk to you guys in the comments. I'll see you later.